Ever since he burst onto the national scene back in 2010 or so, Cory Booker has been a favorite potential presidential candidate for a lot of neoliberals. And up to this point, most people haven't really taken him seriously or noticed him. He doesn't really have all that much charisma most of the time. He's taken no strong stands, and I don't know that he's that well known outside of New Jersey, despite the fact that he's gotten to appear on a lot of mainstream news outlets over the last several years. But a couple weeks ago, Trump made his infamous shithole countries remark, and that allowed Booker to give a rant which went viral. And a lot of people on the left took that rant seriously because they liked Booker's acting in it. He came off as passionate. But if you really watch the rant, there are two things that should disturb you. One, he says that he cried when he learned about Trump's use of the term shithole country because it's so disrespectful. That's just pathetic. If you're someone in power and you cry that someone else in power uses inappropriate language, you are completely useless. You are not strong enough to hold a position of power. You should resign immediately and go live in a cave. On the other hand, the other really disturbing thing that a lot of people unfortunately did not notice, although to their credit, many people in the progressive movement did, is that there was not a policy side to Booker's famous rant. Well, why is that? Simple. This guy is the poster child of neoliberalism. He is the torchbearer who's taking over for Obama and Hillary Clinton. I stand by my statement in previous videos that Cory Booker is very much the Dollar General brand Barack Obama. And since he didn't state his policy positions, I don't know exactly what they are. But it's a really good indication when you're dealing with a corporatist if you look at who gives them money, and then you can pretty much figure out where they will stand on the issues. So I decided to do just that. And I have found his top 5 donors over the course of his political career, according to OpenSecrets.org. So let's take a look at who these people are, what industries have been giving him money, what firms have been giving him money, or PACs. And let's also look at what those groups stand for. So that way we can figure out what Cory Booker will stand for. One fairly quick and easy way to establish the ideological identity of a candidate is to look at who gives them money, who are the industries which are most committed to this candidate. Well, his top industries are lawyers/law firms. That's pretty typical for a lot of Democrats. There are a lot of liberal lawyers who give quite a lot of money. There's sort of a stereotype that the right likes to perpetuate about trial lawyers, those damn liberal trial lawyers. We'll see that a lot of the lawyers giving Cory Booker money don't really qualify as liberal, however. Securities and investment, now that's a disturbing one for a Democrat. This means that he is someone who will be open to things like deregulation. Real estate, that is a super Republican source of money. Pretty much all real estate agents are hyper-Republican. And it's also ironic that Booker has really tried to plant his flag in the ground of anti-racism, given that many real estate agents are prone to more or less tell their white customers all about the demographics of different areas, and to more or less just say, here's where you need to live to avoid the brown people or black people. TV, music, movies, I guess that's a relatively decent source. It doesn't really commit you to any particular policy positions. And then miscellaneous finance, see what I said about securities and investment. This will make someone like Cory Booker less likely to side with the little guy when it comes to issues of finance, such as bankruptcy laws or debt collection, student loan debt, all kinds of things like that. But now let's actually look at the top 5 individual PACs or firms which give Booker money, since I think we'll see a little more in depth about the level of his corruption there. Let's take a look at the Hall of Dishonor of the top 5 donors who have tried to win over the vote of this corrupt politician called Cory Booker, this botched Obama clone. Who are the people who are trying to purchase his votes? Well, first up is NorPAC, and they are a political action committee. We'll talk about what they stand for. And the next 4 are all law firms, and we'll talk about each one of them and the various problems with them and why they and their objectives are enough by themselves to make Cory Booker an unsuitable Democrat by anyone's standards, unless you're a neoliberal piece of shit. So what is NorPAC, you might ask? Well, NorPAC, to put it quite simply, is supposedly a nonpartisan PAC which is dedicated to supporting candidates who are pro-Israel. And here we see that they talk about the constant turnover rate, so they're looking at people who will stay in office for a while. Basically people like Cory Booker, who is a Democrat in a blue state, so someone who's in a safe seat. We'll also look at their top recipients and see a similar pattern. Basically what they do with NorPAC is that they're kind of like a poor man's version of IPAC. And famously, IPAC is that pro-Israel organization which promoted the ban on boycotting any goods made in Israel. So this is just another mindless organization which calls for the U.S. to back Israel no matter what. Even if Israel stirs up a hornet's nest, groups like NorPAC will want the U.S. military and U.S. foreign aid to bail them out at any cost to us. So while this is not actually the worst of the things we're about to see, it's still revealing of just the power of lobbying in general, and it goes quite a ways towards explaining why so many of our lawmakers make such idiotic foreign policy decisions, which, by the way, coincidentally, is a topic I plan on taking up in the future in more detail. But for now, just know that NorPAC gives more money to Cory Booker than any other single donor. When we take a list at the other major recipients of NorPAC money, we'll see that Cory Booker was not able to crack about the top 20, which I found somewhat surprising, actually. There were people who were able to get more money than Cory, and most of them because they're fairly senior people and they're in safe seats. Ted Cruz, for instance, is a Republican in Texas. He is someone who is an out-and-out corporate whore and who has the backing of the oil industry, so it's pretty safe to say he's not going anywhere. Chuck Schumer, he manages to combine sort of liberal social positions with being an out-and-out crony for Wall Street, so he is safe, more or less, barring a strong progressive challenger in New York. He's also, of course, the uncle of Amy Schumer, so he has that going for him. Most of the other people on this list are actually people I have heard of. I can't say that I know every single member of Congress, but I know damn near everybody on this list with the exception of John Boozman, Elliot Engel, and there was someone else I saw on here that I can't name. Oh, Ed Royce. Other than those people, I know who the rest of these guys are. A lot of them are sort of self-proclaimed moderates. Others are basically conservatives. There aren't any real liberals on here. Now, Chuck Schumer might call himself a liberal from time to time, but it's really just a shitty joke that he apparently stole from his niece and botched, because it's damn sure not factual. So the fact that Booker's taking money from this group is not surprising. He actually fits in well with most of the names listed here of people who kind of like to portray themselves as sensible centrist and people who are strong allies of Israel. So no real surprises. But things are about to get worse, as I alluded to. And now let's dive deep and look at the various law firms which are giving money to Cory Booker. We'll see that pretty much all of these groups are very clearly corporate lawyers and not liberal trial lawyers. Let's read through the legalese-inspired bullshit. So, this is a firm of more than 900 lawyers who collaborate with clients to help them solve their most challenging legal problems and achieve their business goals. Now, while they'll try to talk about how they do some pro bono work and how they help individuals, that first sentence really tells you that they are mostly there to serve companies who run into legal issues and to help them screw over their employees and consumers and dodge regulation. And we'll see that's a common theme with law firms that like to give money to Cory Booker. Widely recognized as having leading litigation and corporate capabilities, the firm has developed equally strong practices in the areas of bankruptcy and corporate reorganization, employee benefits and executive compensation, finance, intellectual property, personal representation, real estate, and tax law. Now, by employee benefits, based on everything else that's listed there, I have to assume, barring contradictory information, if somebody can find it, that would be enlightening. But I have to assume here that this is basically talking about how to keep employee benefits at a minimum, or how to end employee benefits after termination. This does not sound like this firm is there to protect employees or their legal rights, but rather it's there to, create contract language that prevents people from getting the benefits that they might otherwise be able to claim. Anyway, they say that their pro bono efforts help to benefit individuals in society. I really doubt it, but hey, maybe I'm just being cynical. Maybe once in a while, some of these guys hand out nickels to homeless people. Who knows? Let's move on to Gibbon PC, and the only thing that I want to look at here is their message on the environment. Most of the rest of the stuff they had was fairly typical of a large corporate law firm. There's a lot of bullshit legalese. They try to avoid stating which side of the issues they're on. But right here, this tells you everything you need to know. This is from their homepage, and it is their environmental mission statement because they have sort of a sub-branch which focuses on that. So, basically, the takeaway from this, and you can pause the video and read it in full if you prefer, is that what they do is they protect real estate developers and other large businesses from being sued by the EPA. Whenever you engage in large business, you tend to do some environmental damage, and the role of this particular branch of Gibbon PC is to protect large businesses from getting sued for fucking up and violating regulations. So, again, this is not the kind of donor that you want to have for a Democrat. Democrats are supposed to protect the people, and they're supposed to protect the environment, not protect the people who fuck over regular people and pollute the environment. The fourth largest contributor to Cory Booker is the law firm of Greenberg Traurig. This law firm, if you look at their homepage, makes no bones about the fact that they are simply there to serve corporate America, and they really don't give a shit about anything else. They don't even try to talk about all of their pro bono work or how they love the children or whatever. So there's really no question about whose side they're on. I don't think there's any need to say more given what we've already said about other law firms at this time, but let's just go ahead for fun and take a look at the people to whom GT gives their money. When we look at who GT chooses to give its money to, we see that they do the sort of typical lobbying strategy of giving their money to people who are either about to inherit a great deal of power or who have a level of prominence and who are able to influence events. So if we look at the top 3 out of 4 people they give money to, the top 3 of them in 2016 were presidential contenders. And from sort of a status quo perspective, these were probably the most likely 3 eventual presidents: Hillary Clinton, Marco Rubio, Jeb Bush. I guess that people being insulated from conditions in the real world would be inclined to think that these are your most likely winners. We also see some relatively middle-of-the-road people who are easily persuaded: Chuck Schumer, Chris Christie, Rob Portman. The big surprise on here for me, and the one that I'm having trouble figuring out, is why they gave money to Bernie Sanders. That one does disturb me more than a little bit. I did not think that Bernie Sanders would appear on this list. But anyway, I guess that's food for thought. No one is perfect. And also remember what I said, most lobbying firms, at least traditionally, have tried to sort of not put all their eggs in one basket, as it were, and try to ingratiate themselves at least a little bit, even with people that they don't really support all that much, or people who they see as somewhat of a long shot in a race. So anyway, but again, like, that's something to think about, the fact that Bernie's on that list. A little disturbing. Not really sure what to make of it. Although they give the 5th most amount of money to Cory Booker, they should not be counted last. Sullivan and Cromwell has a long history of being for the powerful and the corporate. They date back all the way to 1879, and during the Great Depression and also even in the Progressive era, they very much represented the interest of big business. And they continue that tradition today by donating money to Cory Booker, the consummate corporatist. So let's also look at who else this great American institution gives money to. And just to bring the point home about what Sullivan and Cromwell stands for, let's take a look at their areas of focus. Basically, you can pause this and read it for yourself in detail, but what they do is provide information and legal counsel to protect big businesses from any potential trouble that they might run into at the hands of their own workers. They are there to protect businesses and business leaders from accountability and from having to follow the law to the full extent of the letter of the law, the same way the rest of us are forced to do. My conclusion is very simple. Cory Booker is the consummate corporatist. He is corrupt, and he is a neoliberal poster child. By no means should he ever be considered for the presidency in 2020. He has a very good chance of losing to Trump, and even if he were to beat Trump, he still wouldn't actually do anything to make people's lives materially better. Booker is completely and totally useless. He is an empty suit. And despite the fact that he so passionately denounced Trump for calling other countries shithole countries, the fact remains that Booker and his neoliberal butt buddies are doing everything in their power to work hand in glove with Trump and the crazy right-wing Republicans to turn America into a shithole country. So, no matter what you do, don't be fooled into thinking that this idiot could ever be a good candidate or a good representation of progressive values. That's all I have to say. Good night and good luck.